Hey Sneeples, ProQuest season is upon us, and for only $100, we're going to take this deck right here with Briar all the way to the top, at least to get the top 8, maybe even win the whole thing, all for under $100. Let's get right into what makes this deck so cheap yet so effective.
Okay, so let's get into Briar herself and what she does. Essence of Earth Lightning, which means we can play Earth and Lightning cards in our deck, along with Runeblade cards because she is a Runeblade hero. When an attack action you control deals damage to an opposing hero, create embodiment of Earth token. Alright, embodiment of Earth. Non-attack action cards you control have +1 defense while defending. That's pretty good because a lot of non-attack action cards block for 2 on their own. This one makes them block for 3, and some of them block for 3, and this would make them block for 4. So that's really what we want. The second ability she has is when you play your second non-attack action turn each turn, create Embodiment of Lightning. And the Embodiment of Lightning allows for our next attack action to have to go again, which is extremely good, so that we can go wide as well as be able to block on their turn. So Briar has the abilities to really put her into a winning competitive situation. Let's get into her weapon and armor. Okay, so her weapon is extremely good. One weapon that will be missed by all Runeblades alike is a pay 1 to come in for 2. However, if you played both a non-attack and an attack action card this turn, you get to come in for 2 physical and 2 arcane damage all at once. So it's a 1 for 4, which is insane value when it's connected to a weapon. So Rosetta Thorn, a very good weapon for Runeblades alike, and especially for Briar here. Now let's get into the one piece of equipment that's going to cost us a little bit of money, but it's okay because we're still making it on the budget, and that is Crown of Dominion. This is a very cheap legendary compared to some of these other legendaries. It makes our hero royal, and it makes us start off with a gold token. Here's our gold token here. Pay 2, destroy this gold, draw a card, and it has go again. Guys, we're not going to ever pay 2 to draw a card here. And I'll get into that later. I'll get into why we choose to be royal. It's really so we can have this gold token and it will all make sense. Just stick with me. I'll explain it further. But this is our legendary. It's not too much, but this is where some of our value is gone. Alright, next up we're going to get through the equipment here. Aether Ironweave. This is going to be our chest equipment since we are in a budget. We're not going to run Tunic. This is a very good one that you would see Briar players run anyhow. It does block for 1 with Battle Worn, which is very nice. And it has this ability that if we play a non-attack and attack, which if you're Runeblade, that's what you tend to do, then you can destroy this piece of weapon and get 2 resources, which is very good value to have. Vexing Quillhand is going to be our default arm equipment, and that is because we are, as mentioned before, we're in a budget, so we cannot afford the Grasp of the Arcanites. Vexing Quillhand does have Arcane Barrier, so we can always just keep it in, and it also has this ability where we can create Rune Chant tokens if need be to help finish off the game. That's why we're choosing to stick with the Vexing Quillhand. Snapdragon Scalers. This is the boots that most Briar players are going to run. Some do the Spellbound Creepers, but most play Snapdragon Scalers. It's very cheap. Gives our attack action cards that cost 1 or less go again as an attack reaction. This is extremely good. That's extremely what we want. Now let's get into the Null Rune armor that we are going to bring in against like the wizards. We'll keep just the Vexing Quillhand if we go against like a Viserai. But we will bring in Null Rune Robe if we're going against Kano or Icelander, along with Null Rune Boots. And then finally, the Crown of Dichotomy. You probably don't necessarily need all this Null Rune, but we have it, so we might as well play it. Also, if we run 3 pieces of Null Rune, then it allows us to crack our Vexing Quillhand and feel safe. But Crown of Dichotomy also has this other ability that allows us to stack our deck, which can be very nice considering we have cards that go after the top of our deck. So a nice little extra ability with Crown of Dichotomy. Let's get into the deck itself now and what we are going to do. And let's talk about the first card we'll talk about is Briar's Specialization, and that's Force of Nature. So it's a 0-cost blue pitch that blocks for 3. That's a non-attack, which means that if we have an embodiment of Earth, it'll block for 4. So that's always very good. It has Earth Fusion, so if we reveal an Earth card from our hand, we get this added effect. Whenever an attack action card you control hits this turn, if it has greater power, then draw a card. And if it was fused, our next attack action gets +1. So this helps to bump up an attack so that you can draw a card off that attack. But we have plenty of cards in this deck that buff our attacks to make this Force of Nature trigger happen. And guys, this doesn't happen just for our next attack. This happens for every attack on this turn. So Force of Nature, a very, very good card. One that is in every single Briar deck. Another card that is in every single Briar deck is Channel Mount Heroic. This is an Earth card. It costs 3. It again blocks for 3, so it could block for 4. But it's an aura. It's a non-attack aura. Attack action cards you control have +3. And then it has the Channel Earth ability, so we need to put an Earth card that we pitch on the bottom of our deck for each turn that we keep Channel Mount Heroic out. With this deck, you can probably keep it out 1 turn for sure, but oftentimes maybe even 2 turns. So that's very good. And if you pair these 2 together, where you have Force of Nature and Channel Mount Heroic, then you have it where every one of your attacks get +3. That means every one of your attacks has the on-hit ability to draw a card. Briar is a very high rolling deck, and this combo helps to just win games on its own. I mean, it's very hard to come back as your opponent when you are able to bring these 2 together. And them alone, you know, Force of Nature alone or Channel Mount Heroic alone is also extremely good. So these cards aren't too much. They fit within our budget. We like them. Let's go over some more pumps that we have in this deck. And here we got Bramble Spark. This is another Earth Fusion card. If we fuse this card, our next attack gets +3. And then when we play it, our attack has, when it comes in, it deals 1 arcane damage to target hero. This is just a 0-cost non-attack. That's most of our non-attacks will be 0 cost. And with a bit of an Earth Fusion, we have a ton of Earth cards in this deck so that we can keep Channel Mount Heroic around, but also be able to fuse. Here's some more Earth cards. This is a 2-cost Earth attack. However, this one gives +5, which is insane. So a 2 for +5 with Go Again. This is what we want. We need non-attacks. So that's one that we run. Here's a 0-cost non-attack that we use. A 0 for +3 for our next card that costs 1 or less. Most of our cards are going to cost 1 or less when they're attack actions. So we're just going over all the pumps. So they're all non-attack actions except for this one. This is an instant. This is Lightning Press. So we can play this as like a, you know, attack reaction speed. And it gives our attack +3. So maybe you come in with a Force of Nature here. Or you play Force of Nature and you come in with an attack, and let's say you didn't fuse Force of Nature, so you don't get the added buff, right? Well, maybe you're just coming in with just a regular old attack, and they're like, well, okay, no on-hit trigger since it's not buffed, and then boom, you play Lightning Press, now you get the buff, you get damage through, and you draw a card. So very, very good there. These are our pumps to help pump up our spells. Like I said, with Rune Blades, we want to play a non-attack and an attack. So let's get into our attacks, and we're going to see a common theme here, and that is 0 for 4. Most of our attacks will cost 0 and come in for 4 damage. This is Arcanic Shockwave. It has a Lightning Fusion, so we do have some Lightning cards in this deck. If it's fused, it deals 1 arcane damage to target hero. It does not have Go Again, so perhaps if we play multiple non-attacks, we can get our embodiment of lightning, and then we can give it Go Again and just come in 0 for 4. A lot of Briar stuff is very cheap, so it is very possible to play your whole hand out basically, because most things cost 0. Here's another 0 for 4, Coax a Commotion. This is a very fun card because it has an on-hit trigger that you can decide what to do with. You can either create Quicken tokens, which is allowing your next attack to have go again, or you can draw a card, or you can gain a life, but both players do so. This comes pretty relevant against, like, let's say you're going against a Fi. Well, most of their attacks already have go again, so you're fine to give Quicken tokens out. Or if you're going against like a Guardian, most times they can only attack with one card, so you're fine giving a Quicken token out. Drawing card can be very relevant, and even just gaining life isn't bad. Alright, our next one is another 0 for 4 here, Entwine Lightning. If we fuse this card, it can have go again, so it could be a 0 for 4 go again on its own. That's why we run it. We do have some lightning cards other than Lightning Press. We'll get into that later, but we do have ways to fuse it. Here's another one. This is more of a sideboard card, but Exude Confidence is a 0 for 4. It's a sideboard card because D-reacts don't work with it against it too well. Okay, now let's get into our lightning card. A 0 for 4 lightning attack that if it comes from the arsenal, it has go again. So this is a card we want to try to usually put in the arsenal. But it is also a card that we can use to fuse with for like the Entwined Lightning or Arcanic Shockwave mentioned before. Alright, you guys see how it's just so cheap to play this deck? It was once called Cheerios Briar because it didn't even run channel back in the day. Ravenous Rabble, another 0 for 5, except it's almost always going to be 4. We have a ton of red in this deck. It can be 0 for 2. We do have some blues in this deck, so you know, hopefully that doesn't happen to you, but it does happen. But Ravenous Rabble, very good card. It has go again on its own. That's why we like it. Next up is Scar for Scar. This is a 0 for 4 with go again if we have less life. If you're going against a hero that's, you know, trading life totals with you, this is oftentimes going to have the go again, and it might be just what you need to outrace them. And then finally, our last 0 for 4 is, of course, Snatch. This is a very good card for aggro style decks that go wide. This is a card that you could use your Snapdragon Scalers to give go again, or just get your Embodiment of Lightning to have it get go again, because the on-hit trigger is very relevant, and this card demands blocks because of it. Okay, so that is our attacks. As you can see, 0 for 4 is the theme there. Now let's get into what makes Briar a very high rolling deck. And the first card we're going to talk about is Cash In. We're running 3 of these, and let's go back to our legendary that we're running, the Crown of Dominion, that allows us to start off with this gold token. And what we're going to do with this gold token is we are going to, instead of paying its cost, we're not going to destroy 4 copper, we're not going to destroy 2 silver, we're going to destroy 1 gold token to draw 2 cards. So we're playing this card and drawing 2 cards after it. That's just extreme value. Now we only have 1 gold token, so once we do it once, these other 2 become good pitches, blocks, or you can even play them if your hands allow. But this is a very, very good card that we do want to run 3 because we want to make sure we hit it more times than not. Here again, we have another card draw. This is Gorganian Tome. This is just a 0 to draw a card, and it just replaces itself. But what's very good about it, it gets you halfway to getting an Embodiment of Lightning. It allows you to get halfway into using Rosetta Thorn, or even your Aether Ironweave if need be. I mean, Rune Blades want to play a non-attack and an attack every turn, so this allows you to do such a thing. And draws you a card. Could also draw you multiple cards if your opponent also runs Gorganian Tome. Alright, another card we have that is a high rolling card is Sonata Arcanic. I was very happy to find room in the budget for this card, because this card is a high rolling card because it's essentially costs 0, and you look at the top 3 cards, you choose a non-attack, or for each non-attack you can put an attack card into your hand. So basically it's a non-attack card that replaces itself with an attack card, and what's beautiful about it is that it's X value, so as far as the cost. So you can actually pitch a blue to put 1 in the cost and have 1 floating, and then you're doing 1 + 3, revealing the top 4 cards. You know, you could live the dream where you reveal 2 non-attacks and 2 attacks and take 2 attacks in your hand. On top of that, guess what? That means 2 arcane damage is coming their way. So Sonata Mechanics does quite a bit. Now, be warned, it could also miss. If it does miss, then you're just playing a non-attack, basically just to get it out of your hand. It's not the worst thing, but obviously if it hits, oh my gosh, is it huge. And honestly, guys, we make it to where it will hit more often than not. All right, another card I want to talk about here is Pulse Candlehold. There's nothing super big about this card other than that it is both Earth and Lightning, so it fuses very well with both our Earth Fuse and Lightning Fuse. It does have an ability where you can put the 2 target Earth, Lightning, and Elemental cards from your graveyard on top of your deck. So you could put a Channel Mount Heroic on top of your deck with this card. You could also stack it to where you are getting the attack action you want. So you play this first, and then you play Sonata Mechanics, so that you put like if you put a non-attack and attack on top, and then you play this, then you can get the attack action. And oh, by the way, since that's your second non-attack turn, you just made Embodiment of Lightning. So very good little combo with one another, but also just a very good card to fuse, and it blocks for 3, which means of course it can block for 4 with the Embodiment of Earth. Now let's get into our Earth cards that we oftentimes pitch, but sometimes play, and this is one of those times that we will oftentimes play. It's a 3 cost, but and it also has additional costs that you have to have an arsenal. But if you play it, if you pitch a blue and play Tome of Harvest, then you put your arsenal on your bottom and you draw 3 cards. It basically replaces itself. This is a very good card to just, like I said, play to get your non-attack out there so that you can follow it up with an attack and do Runeblade stuff. But it also just helps reset your hand if your hand is very bad. And of course, it's an Earth pitch that is a blue, so it works very well to like play out Channel Mount Heroic and whatnot. All right, our next one up is So Tomorrow. So Tomorrow is a card that works very well if we play it from our arsenal, because it will draw us a card. It puts a target Earth or Elemental card of cost 2 or greater from our graveyard on the bottom of our deck. Not extremely relevant, but we do shuffle our deck a little bit here, because when we play Sonata Arcanics, we have to shuffle our deck afterwards. So if we played a Channel Mount Heroic earlier, and then we play So Tomorrow to put that Channel Mount Heroic on the bottom, and then we shuffle our deck with Sonata Mechanics, we could see that Channel Mount Heroic again, which is one of our best cards, so that's something that we would want to happen. Okay, next up is a Earthlore Surge. We saw the red, we're running the blue as well. It is just a 2 cost 3 pump. Basically, it's a blue pitch that's an Earth. That's really what we want it for, but in a pinch, we can use it as a pump. Same thing with this card. This is Weave Earth. It's a blue cost Earth pitch, or it's a blue pitch Earth card. It costs 0. It does pump up our attacks, and if we fuse it, pumps them up even more. Only our Earth and Elemental attacks, though. So most of the time, just pitching is or blocking with it. Okay, now we're going to get into our few Earth attacks. We have Burgeoning. Can be a 2 for 5 if played from the arsenal. Again, just an Earth pitch. And then finally, we have Autumn's Touch. This is a 3 for 5 that can block for 3, which is actually pretty relevant. But as mentioned before, Earth pitch.
That's Briar in a nutshell for you. If this is something you're looking to build and consider taking to ProQuest, then I highly encourage you, check out our other video. I go a little bit even more extensive on how to play the deck, as well as play an online match to kind of show more how to pilot the deck itself. So guys, be sure to check that out. And thanks for watching. Get to practicing. Keep on fabbing. Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. If you like this shirt or the others we have just like it, we sell shirts and keychains and more to come. Go to fleshandbaubles.com. Enter the promo Sneep and you get 10% off your entire order. Some really cool stuff, some really cool gift ideas. We would really appreciate your help supporting us. Thank you.